So if you have no story, you have no evidence. Now, if you do have a story, look at the story first, because we talked about and if I bring this up, a photo,
Right.
necessarily a series of photos,
Hmm.
known as the Bigfoot Peeper. If you listen to the story without looking at the pictures first, you would be so you would say this is a bunch of baloney.
That's
Now
what I
show me
did. I'll be
the
honest.
yeah, now show me the pictures.
Yeah.
What happens is you start looking at pictures. If the pictures look good, automatically you're putting that confirmation bias into your head.
Right.
So you don't look at the pictures.
And that's a
Or
danger, right? Because people
Mhm.
like me, I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, I do my thing, I have breakfast, and then I get on the phone, I look through the topics, and I just look at the pictures.
Yep,
And I will fall victim to that 99 point. I'm not going to lie, because it's like, oh,
yep,
that looks interesting, right? But
right.
it's very
And,
simple for people to just go, wow,
yeah.
that's amazing.
And the way I look at it too is I'm able to look at a picture now real quick and say, okay, let me just put this aside. Let me look at the story.
Hmm.
Okay. And I can say on the basis, well, that looks interesting or it doesn't. The Bigfoot peeper looked interesting. It wasn't a blob squatch.
Right.
I'm like, this looks interesting.
No red
Whether
circles.
it's real or not, I don't know yet, but let me look at the story. And then you look at the story and psychologically it doesn't make sense. So from the whole psychology, and if you want me to break it down real quick, I can break it
We
down.
have time, so let's
Okay.
walk. Let's
So
first let's really from a high level. Let's talk about exactly what the peeper was. We'll give a frame reference and then walk us through that.
yeah, let me see if I can. If you want to, I can probably
Pick up
pull
a
up
still, throw up a still or
pull up
something
a
like that.
still. Um,
It was just while he's looking that up. It was to me. It was I believe it was the picture where it looked like an ape looking through. To me, it looked like a casement window in a basement. Whether or not it was the basement or not, but it kind of looked like he was looking over the fence like this, and the
Yeah.
big nose and the hair, right, Chuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the first. He was the first floor, though, right? I don't think it was.
okay, there we
Well,
go. We're
look at
all
this.
good to go.
Okay, so there's the
Yeah.
picture. Okay, so go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so this picture comes out, and it's a series of pictures. But let's forget the picture for now. If everybody can just close their eyes for a second, forget they ever saw that picture. Here is the story how it basically breaks down. And I'm going to play the voice of the guy that took the pictures. I'm sitting there in my living room watching television, and I always keep a video camera next to me on the end table. And all of a sudden, I notice this thing looking in the window. So I grab my video camera and I start videotaping it. And after about 8 minutes, my wife comes in and screams. And and now, mind you, I'm paraphrasing a lot of this.
Yeah,
My
right,
wife
right, yeah.
screams and runs out of the room and calls the sheriff's department. So then I put my camera down and I grab my gun. And that's where the story really ends. Um, I wish I had the video, but the video was destroyed in a fire at my
Oh,
mom's house,
son of a bitch!
right? But I still have these pictures. Now, if you take all of this aside and you just listen to the story, sounds like a big fish story.
Yeah, something fishy. I mean, it
Right?
looks like to me, it looks like a basement, right? It looks like there's an unfinished
Well,
ceiling there, and
eh,
he's probably living in his mother's basement.
so then I do what I do. Okay. It turns out the guy that submitted this, uh, first of all, I had to find out who he was. And there was a little trick because he wasn't using his real first name. He was actually using his middle name as a first name. So what I ended up having to do is run several searches, and finally I got a hold of this guy's real name
Hmm.
because it popped up as his middle name, his first, what he was using as his first name. So he's using his middle name as his first name, and I noticed from his social profiles that he said he lived in Colorado, part of his story, and that he had property in Colorado, this rural property. Um, but I wanted to find the right guy first. So okay, and he's got roots in Kokomo, Indiana. So it turns out that I'm looking at this guy, the guy I'm looking at. Okay, well, there's the middle name as that he's using as a first
Hmm.
name. There's his last name, age, date of birth seems right, and I started scrolling. Okay, this is the guy, Kokomo, Indiana, moved to Golden, Colorado, or wherever it was in Colorado.
I think it was Bailey.
This is the guy. But then as I scroll down more on his record, I realize that he has a felony criminal record.
Oh, here we go.
And
I know where this is going.
right. The felony was back, I think, in 2003, 2004 for child molestation.
Bing.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah. So,
say
and
no
then
more.
his address doesn't come back to any rural property. It actually comes back into a very heavily suburban on the border of a city. And I actually pull up his residence on. And the funny thing is if you look at this picture in the background, you see some strange lighting in the back.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
right there.
And it almost looks like that could be somebody else's backyard, perhaps some French doors. Right. And sure enough, I look and his yard is abutted to another backyard, and that home has French doors. So what you're looking at is something that's been taken in a very heavily populated city. I'm just trying to see if I have anything that I could show you as to where. I'm just gonna pop. I don't believe it's a safe. No,
here
wrong
we go.
one.
The
Sorry,
private
wrong one.
investigator comes through.
Wrong one. Wrong one. Wrong one.
That's my house, damn it.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was several properties I ended up looking at. Actually, it turns out there's actually two people of the same name there, but I actually had to lock on the proper one.
Well, that's all right. We don't have to get
Okay.
bogged down with
No,
that.
no,
But I mean,
here we are.
so
But anyway,
it
there it
was
is.
similar to it was a cul-de-sac
Yeah.
or similar to a
So
very
there
tight
it
neighborhood.
is. There's
There
an
it is. Okay.
overview of the property.
Oh, wow.
I believe he lived in the middle residence, which would be right there.
Okay.
And he lived actually on this unit over here. And if you look, and if you spin Google Earth, there's actually French doors on these units here in the back. So what I think was going on was what you were looking at was a straight shot right back through there.
See,
is
the
where
private
it's-
detective. That's why they
Right.
call him the Squatch Detective.
Right.